Hi, everyone. It's Tim Shaffer with Arete Coaching Group. I want to share a personal story with you regarding conflict, everyone's favorite topic. But first, I want to say to you that I believe that conflict is neither positive nor negative. It just is. In fact, I believe it's human behavior that determines the fate of conflict. So, with that, here's my personal story about conflict. When I was 7 years old, my family lived in San Antonio, Texas, and I remember walking home from school many times. And I would walk into the house, and there would be my mom having a cup of coffee and a good conversation with her friend Phyllis. And I remember Miss Phyllis would say to me, "Hi, Timmy, how are you? Timmy, how was your day at school? What did you learn today, Timmy? Did you make any new friends, Timmy?" Now, on the surface, very nice. And she was an incredibly nice lady, incredibly nice woman. But there was something about her calling me Timmy that even at the age of 7, I just thought there was something wrong with that. I almost felt like she was talking down to me. Although at that age, I didn't quite have the words to express that. But I do remember at one point asking my mom why Miss Phyllis didn't like me, which my mom was totally surprised by that. All right, so let's jump ahead many years to the year 2005. I'm in my grown up adult body and grown up mind. You determine that after you hear the rest of the story. And I was working for a very large hospitality company, specifically hotels, and I was hired on to head up learning and development for a division of that organization that was launching a new brand. So there was a particular senior vice president. In fact, it was the top ranked person within our division, senior vice president, who was in charge. And he would call me Timmy. He didn't call me by my name, Tim, but he would call me Timmy. And it used to just drive me nuts. Now, to be fair to him, I didn't tell him that. I just thought he's going to think I'm, probably not qualified for the job, or why am I worrying about something so silly? When we're trying to launch a new brand and all of that. And so I just kind of kept it in. But it really started to grow some frustration, and which it wasn't good. In fact, it got to the point where I would see him down at the end of the hallway, and I would decide to walk the other direction just to avoid hearing someone call me Timmy. Okay, the story continues. It was a Friday afternoon, end of the day. And the senior vice president called a meeting. He wanted representatives from the different functions, so operations, sales, finance, human resources. And I happened to work in human resources. And my boss was already engaged on a very important phone call. So she asked me to represent HR in the meeting. And so the senior vice president had a decision he needed to make about the brand, and he was asking for people's input. He shared with us the information, the situation, asked us some questions, and then people shared around the room. Now, I didn't share that. I didn't feel like I needed to. I agreed with what people said. I didn't have anything different to share, so I kept quiet. Maybe not the best decision, but that's what I did. And at the end of the meeting, he said, "All right, I appreciate everyone. This really helps me. I feel like I'm in a good spot to make a decision and to move forward." Oh, wait a minute. I heard from everyone but Timmy. Before we go, Timmy, why don't you share with the group, share with me your thoughts on this? Timmy. So I put on as best I could a poker face and shared my thoughts, which were in alignment with what other people had said. And he said, "All right, thank you, Timmy. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend." So I walked out of that meeting room, went straight to my boss's office, and she was off the phone. I shut the door and I looked her straight in the eye and I said, "You need to do something about that guy. He keeps belittling me. He's talking down to me in front of other people. He calls me by a nickname, Timmy, versus my real name. You need to do something about this." Now, I admit to everyone watching this that moment was not one of my best. In fact, it was probably one of my worst, quite frankly. And I had a really good boss at the time. She said to me, "Tim, I can tell you're frustrated. Sit down and tell me more. Tell me about what's happening." So I explained to her. I said, he's calling me by a nickname that I haven't agreed to. I haven't asked him to. And I just feel like he's talking down to me. He's belittling me. I don't feel like he appreciates what I do and, all of this. So she took a deep breath, looked at me and said, all right, are you open to some advice? And I said, yeah. She said, you need to put up or shut up. What? Come on, boss. What? She said, that's right. You need to put up or shut up. And I said, well, what does that mean? She said, if somebody else were to come to you with this situation, what advice would you give them? And I said, well, I would tell them to go talk to him. Yeah. She said, exactly. So you need to put up, go talk to him, ask him not to call you Timmy, or you need to decide that this is not that important and just shut up and learn to live with it. Your choice. But it really is your choice, Tim. I'm not going to go talk to him. So, first of all, can I just tell you that is the best HR? That's the kind of HR I like. Just direct, but direct with people who can take that and clear and concise and to the point. I appreciate that approach. So anyway, I decided that I didn't want to necessarily keep going and living with that. And so I decided to go talk to him. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? He would say, Tim, we're trying to launch a hotel brand here, and you're thinking about Timmy versus Tim. I don't need somebody like that on my team, so we're going to let you go. Yeah, that's the worst that could happen. So I thought about that and still made the decision that I needed to go talk to him because I'd been letting this fester. Again, to many of you, this probably seems unimportant. Others probably know what I'm talking about. Or there's something else in your life that you're tolerating, that you're putting up with, that really is conflict, that is just festering. And quite frankly, eroding the relationship between you and the other person or persons. All right. So I went to his office and I said, Senior VP, Senior Vice President, do you have a moment? He said, sure, Timmy, come on in. And I said, all right, I have an issue, and it's my issue, and I think you can help me with it. And he said, well, sure, Timmy, what is it? I said, when I was 7, there was this, one of my mom's really good friends, and I was like, oh, you don't need to hear all that. Here's what I need to say. Again, I have an issue. It's my issue. I own it, and I think you can help me with it. I don't respond well to nicknames. And so moving forward, I'm going to ask that instead of you calling me Timmy, that you call me by my name, which is Tim. Will you do that for me? Now, I just want to point out what happened there. So I'm not blaming him. I'm not calling him names. I'm taking ownership. This isn't his issue. This is my issue. I'm the one who has an issue, has a trigger of nicknames, right? He doesn't. Other people don't, maybe. So not blaming the other person important. Not personalizing it, making it personal is important. Taking ownership of it is. So here's what I did. I took ownership and I didn't blame. I said, I have an issue. It's my issue. And I asked for his help. I think you can help me with this. I'm trying to bridge the gap and tap into relatedness and relationship. And of course, he said, yes, of course. How can I help? And then I shared with him what the issue was, what I would need him to do moving forward. So the issue is I don't respond well to nicknames. And I ask you to call me by my name, Tim, moving forward. And then ask for commitment of that. Will you do that for me? It's a very simple approach. It's non-threatening to the other individual, and it gets the issue out there. So to wrap up that story, what I'd share with you is that he said, after I said, will you do that for me? He paused for a moment and said, sure, Tim. I'll call you Tim. I said, thank you so much. And I got up to leave. And as I'm walking out of the room, he said to me, oh, And by the way, you should know one thing. I said, what's that? I only make up nicknames for people I really like. I missed that. But I knew that to me wasn't the answer. I was willing to forego that. So I share that with you today as maybe a simple approach to addressing conflict or a toleration that you've been putting up with that's been festering and eroding at your relationship with someone else. A simple way, a non-threatening way, not to blame the other person, but to own it and ask for their help in resolving it, working together to resolve it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, it's Tim Shaffer at Arete Coaching Group, and thank you for listening.